In 1961, Pablo Casals, one of the music world's greatest cellists, was guest of honor at a concert of 400 Suzuki children at Tokyo's Bunkyo Hall. Addressing the audience, he said, as he wept, "I am witness to one of the most moving scenes that one can see. I feel such proof of heart here, of desire of a better world. How wonderful to see grown-up people think of the smallest like these, to teach them to begin life with noble feelings, with noble deeds. Perhaps it is music that will save the world." These are the Suzuki children, trained from infancy to hear and feel the most sublime sounds. They are imbued with faith in themselves and in life. They wake to music, hear it throughout the day, and are cradled by it at night. Music becomes their language, spoken with the joy of accomplishment, nurtured by love.
There's an old adage, heroes are not born, they're made. For 17-year-old Jack Kleinman, a rather intense dislike for school compelled him to enlist in the Army, sending him on a direct path toward his destiny.
We have in Yiddish a word called bashert, which means planned in advance. This is what's going to happen no matter what. And certain things happened to me on the way through Europe.
As Bashert would have it, a mix-up with the service points for Jack's Purple Heart delayed his discharge by 6 months. Instead of sailing home with his battalion, Jack found himself in an MP's uniform patrolling a German town called Regensburg.
Now, when that happened, I then now came into contact with Holocaust survivors. I bumped into these 12 young people, the Regensburg 12. Now, these were boys and girls who were Polish, had been in the concentration camps, and were put on an army truck, brought to Regensburg, Germany, and dumped there. And there, I decided this was why I was there, to take care of these people.
Mustering all of his resourcefulness, Jack, with the help of other GIs, appropriated anything he could get his hands on.
If one of the soldiers, one of the fellas left the shirt on his bed and he went to take a shower, he came back, the shirt was gone. Food appropriated from the mess hall. One time I'm coming out of the mess hall with a can of condensed milk, and I put it in my pocket upside down. And I walked around with condensed milk in my boots.
In the 1960s, anthropologist Alvin Toffler, in his book Future Shock, wrote about a future reeling socially, culturally, and intellectually out of control. He contended that science would soon outpace and overwhelm society's ability to cope with and manage an almost insatiable appetite for intellectual and technological growth. But to clearly perceive and, more importantly, function within this brave new world, society needed to take a hard look at itself, because what it was about to see in the mirror was about to change dramatically. According to Toffler, in spite of the differences among people and their cultural biases, the concept of diversity was not the problem. Surviving and succeeding in a brave new world would require unity, not uniformity. In other words, our future would be determined by the ability to manage differences inclusively.
How do you get past your biases? Well, a lot of it's education. I think biases are educationally related. One learns biases. I think also one learns to not be biased.
People have different cultures. And I think it's important that we understand To try to make them conform to our culture, whatever the particular culture is of the individual, is a mistake.
Difference doesn't mean wrong, it means different. When we unify, what we do is accept each other for the differences, and we look for out-of-the-box thinking that comes from being different.
Our differences really are strengths. It's just a matter of how you view those differences and utilize those differences in order to maximize the opportunities to make contributions as well as add value in various ways.
The Germans were the most civilized people in Europe. When they marched us through the streets of Karlsruhe, in the apartments along the Kaiserallee, there were people leaning out the windows watching this thing, saying nothing, quiet as the tomb.
Standing there in front of those soldiers in the black uniform, I was so filled with fear. Were they devils? Perhaps they themselves thought of themselves as gods.
And I still ask, why? What did we do so bad that we deserve this?
Let me tell you a little bit about Noelle. She is a child with lots of capabilities and talents, and the Special Olympics is her way of being able to display those talents for everyone to see.
I do swimming. I do cycling. I win 2 gold medals. I won them in Special Olympics.
My little girl Noelle, she gets so excited about the events starting from last summer, let's say. And as soon as the games are over with, she's always concerned about, you know, if I win, am I going to be going to states? You know, and we talk about this for an entire year.
And Stevie, he's something of a rock star in cycling circles, in Special Olympics.
I make a big deal about it, but I had a mountain bike, and the one guy I was racing, he had a racing bike, and I beat him 3 times. Got all gold medals with the mountain bike.
I love it a lot.
In December, the worst phone call in the world came. I'll never forget, because it woke us up. It was 2:01. Because when the phone rang, I looked at the clock, she answered the phone, and I just started getting dressed, because I knew there was something bad. To this day, I can still see Jeff's face. I thought he was dead.
Being hit by an automobile is, we call that real trauma. Sports trauma is an injury, but it's not like being hit by an automobile and thrown 50 feet. It was life-threatening, fractured his pelvis bone. At that period of time, I talked with Dr. Wilbur, who was looking after him, and he said, you know, this guy's amazing. He's just, all he wants to talk about is when is he going to be back on the football field.
The art part of the architecture is to give that building some soul, to make it something that improves your whole being. You feel better by seeing it from the outside, but especially when you come in and you say, wow, this is a terrific building. You know, I feel good about it.
A building tells a story fully, completely, and it tells it continuously, so long as you care for it. It's important, I think, for us to know where we've been, to better realize where we are and where we're headed.
The built environment defines the character of a community, contributing to the quality of life. A deeper understanding of a city's architectural evolution enhances not only our cultural experience, it heightens our enjoyment and pride in the place we call home. In 1890, the American Institute of Architects founded a chapter in Cleveland, Ohio. On the occasion of their 100th anniversary, we invite you to celebrate a century of talents and experience the richness of Cleveland's architecture through the eyes of 2 Cleveland architects, Peter Van Dyke and Robert Gady.